third, fourth week of camp. We were about right now, right before the season. Everybody's pissing and moaning. We had a different coach come up and give a motivational speech in the afternoon each day. He was our running backs coach at the time by the name of Derek Foster. Coach Foster came up there, toughness and pushing through. He got real razzed up as his speech progressed. We had a video coordinator named Rocky. He finishes his speech and he goes, "Hit it, Rock!" And Set It Off by Boosie Badass played. As a young white man, it was my first time hearing that song, Set It Off. Yeah, we finna set it off. You heard me? I'm finna put you in the trash bag. Tired of all these knowing me right now, for real. You wanna talk shit? You wanna run your mouth? You want some gangster strut your mother in the house? We'll set this jaw. Yeah. And that was my first time hearing Set It Off. At Samford University, it was the third or fourth week of camp. We were about where teams are right now. Right before the season, everybody's pissing and moaning. We had a different coach come up and give a motivational speech in the afternoon each day. He was our running backs coach at the time by the name of Derek Foster. Coach Foster came up there, toughness and pushing through. He got real razzed up as his speech progressed. We had a video coordinator named Rocky. He finishes his speech and he goes, "What it is, baby boys and girls, what it is. Let's go now. Let's go now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. I should say mostly gentlemen because my audience is about 97% male. I checked. It's a beautiful Monday. It is Merciless Monday in the coaching world. A lot of coaches fired this weekend, college. And then we had our first domino drop in the pros. Brian Callahan, who was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, hired in 2024 as Mike Vrabel's successor, is out as of this morning as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. So here is what happened there. Obviously, the Titans, they get off to a 1-5 start, very frustrating. And the one win they do have that came against Arizona Cardinals might have been a bit of a fluke game. You know, it was just one of those things. The margin of victory for the Titans in that game was 1 point. And they had one of the wackiest plays of the NFL season occur when I think Cam Ward threw a pick, and then the guy fumbled, and the Titans ended up falling on it in the end zone. So, not sure what kind of organization they're running over there in Nashville. Not sure about it. The owner, who I know is Miss Amy, I can't even remember her last name. Miss Amy runs the show over there. And, you know, I know a person or two in Nashville. I know a person or two that was familiar with the situation over there. And all I know is that people from the inside of that organization say that the owner of the Tennessee Titans, who we'll call Miss Amy, likes to get pretty emotional behind closed doors. She likes to make some snap decisions. Everybody was really scratching their head when they let Mike Vrabel go, who led the team to, I believe, a division title or two, led the team to multiple playoff berths, and even got them to the AFC Championship back when Tom Brady was still slinging it for New England. And they let him go. So here's the rundown of the series of events that I don't think reflect too positively on Miss Amy's ability to run this Titans organization. The Titans went from firing their GM, John Robinson. Then they went and fired their head coach at the time, Mike Vrabel. Then they fired their GM, Rand Carthen. And now they fired Callahan, and this is all at separate times. So you guys tell me, is it the guys in these roles that are the problem? Or is it the ownership? I've been pretty vocal about this on the show in the past. We have to keep women the hell away from football. You can't expect to have a successful organization in the National Football League if every move that's made by your organization is dictated by the emotional whims of a woman who's never played the game, mind you. Never played the game once in her life. And so it just baffles me, the lack of accountability. I saw it working in sports for the Arizona Coyotes, a team you see sitting on my chest right now. Ownership would make I'm trying to get this goddamn piece of paper to sit here. Ownership would make a decision, and then the people on the front lines, the coach. I was a measly account executive for the Arizona Coyotes. I just pointed to the. I was an account executive, and I had to talk to fans. I had to talk fans down the ledge whenever the ownership made a shitty decision. So can you imagine the onus that's put on a head coach? Can you imagine the onus that's put on a GM? And spoiler alert, we've seen this before. We talk about the Cincinnati Bengals a lot on this program, and we're going to talk a little bit about them today as well. What do the Bengals and the Titans have in common? Believe it or not, for those who are new to the show, appreciate everybody popping in, by the way. For those that are new to the show, the Bengals on paper are owned by one Mike Brown. But let me tell you something you might not know. Mike Brown is old. And Mike Brown has been out of the day-to-day operations for the Bengals for a while. And who has stepped in to make decisions on his behalf? His beautiful daughter, Miss Katie Blackburn. And we've seen and talked about and even unpacked a lot of the organizational malpractices that the Bengals have committed to. And it all leads back to the owner. Football is becoming more and more feminized by the day. And it's a problem because this is not a feminine sport. This is not a sport that rewards you for feeling a certain way. It can get toxic. I know. I was there. I was a player. I worked in the NFL. I know that sometimes all this masculinity, all this drive for achievement, all this ambition, it can go south. But that's why you have your wife at home. That's why when my Pop Warner kids are done playing, they're done with practice, they go home to their mom and they feed them and they take care of them. Now, I hope I'm not coming across as sexist. But football is a masculine game, and I think a big issue with the game of football right now is that we are feminizing it. We are saying it's okay, little Billy, to not come into practice today if your mental health isn't feeling tip-top. It's okay, little Billy, to not give your best today, even though the team needs you. Fuck the team. You got to take care of yourself first. And you get all this money in NIL. We'll talk about James Franklin getting shit canned. All this money in NIL. Again, I am all for players being able to support their families, being able to get what is I don't want to say get what they're due, but the NCAA making all the money off the players' backs for all these years and the players not getting anything, I understand. It almost feels like a form of reparations with NIL, but it's not. And I don't mean to sound racial there, by the way. God damn. But it's becoming a big problem. I heard about this head coach in California. This is actually, I was talking to my cousin on the phone. He lives in Sonoma, California, and he was telling me that their local high school just had a defensive coordinator job come open because the defensive coordinator, who was leading a great defense, by the way, chewed a player out and bumped him on the shoulder pads a little too hard. We saw this last week with Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon getting, not only being forced to apologize, which I thought was over the line, but then getting fined a layman's salary, $100,000 for coaching a player hard. We've put too much, and I never thought I'd be saying this because I'm the number one player empowerment guy. We have put too much power in the hands of the players. I heard about another coach on another show earlier today. I don't know where he was coaching, probably California, based on the way these people were acting. This head coach was 28-6, and he started coaching players hard. He started, God damn, this fucking sheet of paper, man. I don't even have the fan on. He started coaching guys a little too hard, and these players, they would cuss their own coaches out. They would not do what they're told. And so the coach said, all right, well, I'm just going to bench you. And then he would get threats from the parents. They're going to slash his tires. They're going to come for him and his dad, who's also on the staff. Listen, ever since COVID, whoever's in charge, I think I have an idea, but I won't go there. Whoever's in charge of the media we consume, whoever's in charge of whatever this culture shift in America that's occurred since 2020 has erred toward the side of removing everybody's nuts. And it's trickling into professional sports. And don't get it twisted. The college game will eventually affect the pro game. And I'm seeing a bit of a quality discrepancy between what I used to see in NFL and what I see in NFL today. I'm just saying. You think Justin Fields is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in America right now, or sorry, in the world right now? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So let's get into this. Merciless fucking Monday. God damn. I try to have my note sheet here covering the chat and the viewers because I get pretty distracted and I want to give you guys the best show I can. But this motherfucker ain't sitting there, man. So I guess I'm just going to have to actually engage during the show. I wait till the end of the show to engage, but and also I'm just burning up. I'm wearing this freaking hoodie. It's not the best outfit choice for my sweaty ass. Just rained here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's nice and humid. You know what I'm saying? You add an R into stuff, humid. You know. So I'll just freaking sit here with my note sheet and, you know, because I can't cover the goddamn screen for whatever reason. So we got, look, Merciless Monday. James Franklin out as head coach at Penn State. Trent Dilfer, Super Bowl champ, out as head coach at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. I remember as a Samford student athlete being in the Birmingham, Alabama metro area, every time we'd go out on the bars, some UAB football guy always had beef with us. I feel like there was some kind of like unspoken beef there. But I love UAB. I love the city of Birmingham. Look, I want that program to do well, but that's just a tough situation with today's current NIL landscape. And you think about an even objectively tougher task to be a head coach would be at Oregon State University, who shit-canned their guy, Coach Bray. They're 0-7, and they're right there in Corvallis, Oregon, a place that I probably will never go, and a place that a lot of people probably won't ever go. They'd probably rather go to Eugene with Phil Knight and get all that tricked-out Nike gear. So that's a tough task. And then we obviously have Brian Callahan. He's the first domino to fall. So I think Mike McDaniel's probably the next pro coach to get shit canned. And if you guys are in here, you guys probably know ball. You probably heard about what I'm about to bring up. I was going to put it on the screen for you guys to watch, but I feel like you guys have already seen it. It's Tua's post-game presser where he's talking about guys are late to player-only meetings, not showing up to player-only meetings. He aired everything out. He aired everybody out. Tua's press conference after the game yesterday, after their loss against the Chargers, was the clearest attempt to get a head coach fired in the NFL that I've ever seen. And you saw Mike McDaniel's comments after Tua went up there, and he just was bamboozled. He was totally that types of things. He sounded like Kamala Harris. He was baffled. He knew exactly what was going down. He's getting shit canned, dude. For better or for worse. And the worst part about it is that Tua Tagovailoa threw 3 picks against the Chargers yesterday. And then he's got the nuts to go up and point the finger at everybody publicly. I've been telling y'all for weeks, man. I've been hearing Tua on a mic, and the man just ain't right. He's been hit in the head too many times, and I know it's an obligation as an NFL quarterback to speak to the media. They got to get a mic out of this guy's face ASAP because his head ain't right. He's been a lot different in the last year on a mic than I've seen him his entire career. He's been hit in the head too many times. He's got to call it because he's talking different. The shit he says, I'm talking about Tua, the shit he says is so ridiculously tone deaf and out of pocket, unnecessary. Nobody asked him, hey, are people not showing up to team meetings? Is that what's going on? He said it unsolicited. And I said this on Twitter last week because I saw his post-game interview from last week. And all I could think was that, man, this boy head ain't right. There's something wrong with what's going on with Tua up there. Earlier in the week, he's saying it doesn't matter if we win or lose. I get to go home to my kids. This man ain't right. Y'all got to get the mic out of Tua Tagovailoa's face, man. Because it ain't right. He didn't have to air out the laundry yesterday. Especially after you threw 3 picks and you're the $55 million quarterback that's supposed to be leading. I think it's clear that Mike McDaniel lost this locker room a long time ago. Mike McDaniel is a guy that is a genius when it comes to football, when it comes to X's and O's, when it comes to scheming up inside zone, motions, window dressing, all of that. He's great. But I don't think Mike McDaniel is a Jimmy's and Joe's guy. There's a difference. There's a lot of jobs as a head coach. It's the coldest game out there. It's the most ruthless game out there, head coaching at that level. I've seen it up close. God damn, I got a burp trying to escape. I've seen it up close. I've seen how stressed out these coaches get in college, even in college football. I can't imagine the pros. Might pretty much be the same nowadays. But you're telling me that Mike McDaniel is a guy that when times are tough is able to go into the locker room and command a group of men? You look at a picture from his post-game presser yesterday. He's his outfit. He's got damn skinny, sweats up to his knees, and he's standing with his legs crossed. He just doesn't look like a leader of men. Whoever gets him as an offensive coordinator is going to have a hell of an OC. And with that, I think the Bengals are probably going to welcome Brian Callahan back to the facility with open arms, the way that offense looked in the first half. Now, the Bengals completely flipped the script in the second half, and I will use this as a good segue. The Bengals, I am most hopeful about in this moment since Joe went down. If you take a look at the way the Bengals played in the first half, I think they had like one first down the whole half. It was complete and utter disgrace offensively, but the defense looked good. They're forcing turnovers. DJ Turner, one of the great bright spots on this defense right now, leading the league with 11 pass breakups to my knowledge. Number 20 for Cincinnati. But it was the Bengals yesterday against Green Bay was kind of like my golf game. The defense was lights out in the first half. Offense couldn't do a thing. And then in the second half, offense came alive. Joe Flacco, 2 touchdown passes, no picks. A beautiful one to Jamar where Jamar actually apparently changed the play or changed the route on that catch that probably all of you guys saw from yesterday. But the defense couldn't get a stop when they needed it. 3rd and 9, 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And you give up a bomb. I think it was a smash route or something to Matthew Golden. Jordan Battle gets beat. Jordan Battle looked like hot ass booty dog water yesterday, by the way. Just looked lost. Couldn't make a tackle to save his life. Was getting beat in coverage left and right. So, all that to say, Trey Hendrickson looks like he's going to be coming back. He left the game for good with a lower back injury. Mike Gesicki tore a pec. I can't imagine how painful that would be, by the way. He'll be out for a long time, but it looks like Trey is going to be coming back. I'm really encouraged because I think the Bengals are going to carry this momentum into Thursday Night Football. Probably the biggest game of the year so far, division game against 4-1 Pittsburgh, who's cruising. People are calling it the Unk Bowl. Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Flacco. The Unction. Okay? If the Bengals lose this game on Thursday night, season's over. But I see the Bengals winning this game on Thursday night. I think after a full week, Joe Flacco will be fully settled. He didn't even get to practice with Jamar Chase last week, by the way, because Jamar was struggling with an illness of some kind. Probably sick of this organization. But they made that comment yesterday. Jamar said, I didn't even get to practice with Joe. And you saw the connection yesterday in the second half. You saw the connection. And Joe was, this is the best group of receivers Flacco's ever been around. And you're talking about a Super Bowl winning quarterback here. He was saying how it didn't matter what kind of ball he threw. Jamar and T were plucking it out of the air. So even off the 4th consecutive loss of the year, the Bengals start out 2-0, and then they drop the last 4 in a row. Even off of this 4th loss in a row, I'm actually the most optimistic I've been about these Bengals since Joe went down. Seeing what I saw offensively in the second half. The run game was better than it has been all year by far. And I think it's because the receivers started to get in sync with Flacco. And they finally got some kind of rhythm. Flacco even said it himself. He called a couple plays in the huddle that were the wrong play, but he gets up to the line. He figures it out. This was a smart move by the Bengals organization. Wow, I can't believe I've ever said that about them ever. This was a smart move by them, getting this kind of guy in, a guy that's been there before, done that, etc. So I see... Here's the next 3 games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Thursday Night Football at home, whiteout against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They play, and then they got I know they got the Bears and the Jets. I don't know in what order. But those are 2 very winnable games. So if you win the next 3 in a row, which I think the Bengals will do, you're sitting at 5-4. You're in the thick of it in the AFC North. And you create maybe some sort of realistic scenario where we're in the hunt around week 15, week 16, and make way for Joey B, the ski mask king, the coldest of all quarterbacks, Joey B, to come back and try to make something out of this season. Let's see what else we got. I'm going to try to get some quick hitters here. I'm sweating. I'm having a good time just solely because I'm on here with you guys shooting the shit. But physically, I'm sweltering. Let's break down James Franklin's superlatives during his time at Penn State. 104 and 45 over 11 years. He was 64 and 36 in Big Ten play. Won the conference in 2016. Double-digit wins almost every year. And they made the semifinals last year. Now, they did have a cakewalk in the playoff. I believe it was like SMU and then Boise State until they eventually lost. But James Franklin was the first coach in more than 30 years to lose back-to-back games as 20-plus point favorites. 16 days ago, Penn State was ranked number 2 in America. These players just quit on James Franklin. Again, players got too much power, man. These guys can just stop playing, and then if they get held accountable for it, they get yelled at, they get cussed out, they're just going to hop in the portal. Problem solved. So that's the problem with the players having too much power, is if they decide, there's more players than coaches. If the players just decide, oh, yeah, I'm done here. They get emotional or whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm done playing here. There's zero checks and balances. There's zero accountability. And I think this Penn State team just quit on James Franklin. There's no other explanation. They've got all the money in the world. They've got a powerful program, which means they've got the best players they can have. These guys were just done. There's not much mental resiliency, I don't think. You lose that tough one to Oregon, and then it just spiraled. So, who's next to be fired in college football? You got Luke Fickell over there at Wisconsin. That's a good program that's had a really tough time adjusting to the current landscape. You've got Jonathan Smith over there at Michigan State, another program that's been really respected over the last few decades that seems to have not caught up with everybody else. You've got Billy Napier over at Florida. They dropped a game this past weekend to a tough team, but they're in a tough spot nonetheless. And then I think you got Mike Norvell in the hot seat over there at Florida State. You thought they were one of the powers of the world after that week 1 game against Bama. We all did. And you look at them now, it looks like that program is about who we thought they were. You know what I mean? Rico Dowdle had himself a game against his former team. He was very clear that he had a chip on his shoulder about the Dallas Cowboys, as I feel like a lot of former players do. It seems like Jerry Jones just knows that he's too big for his boots and can treat players however the hell he wants. Rico Dowdle goes for 239 all-purpose yards yesterday. He broke Christian McCaffrey's two-game all-purpose yardage record, shattered it. And this is what happens when a guy feels slighted by the actions of another team or another organization, and he wants to prove somebody wrong. It's a very powerful thing, the mind. So I hope his success continues. Carolina's sitting at 3-3. I saw a group of guys that had a Carolina Panthers-based podcast, and they shut it down a couple weeks ago because the team was so bad. I was wondering if they might want to start that podcast back up because the Panthers seem to have a little bit of life. I picked the Panthers on the show on Friday against the Cowboys. I'll have to take a look and see how I did there. Seahawks, they beat the Jags. I picked that one too. Seahawks look really, really good. Jackson Smith and Jigba playing his balls off. One of the better receivers in the league right now in terms of statistical production. Baker Mayfield, definitely the MVP front runner. What a gritty story from that guy. What else do we got? Brian Burns, a DB for the Lions, confronted Juju Smith-Schuster after their loss to the Chiefs last night, which turned into a huge brawl. And look, I'm all for on-field fights. I think it shows you care. Not as good of a look when you're doing it after a loss on the road. And, I mean, honestly, dude, we talk about the state of the game of football. We talk about accountability. We talk about players. Maybe not really. This is my dog. You see him? You can't see him on the shorts feed. If I'm a coach, if I'm Dan Campbell, I kind of like this from Brian Burns. I kind of like it. Obviously, he has to go to the press. Dan Campbell, has to go and condemn it. Makes total sense. But if I'm a coach and I have a guy that does that, I'm going to pull him to the side. I'm going to say, hey, not smart. You got to be smart. Don't do it after the game on the road after a loss. It's bad sportsmanship, but also don't tell anybody I did that. Because I don't think we have enough of that in the game these days. I don't think we have enough just nasty, mean, gritty players that are pissed off after they lose. Dan Campbell's created a good culture there, and I don't think that's a secret at all. Obviously, with Brian Burns, you got to condemn it. As a coach, you got to go to the press and condemn it. Say we don't align with that kind of behavior. We don't this. We don't that. But behind closed doors, it's kind of like, all right, now get the fuck out. You know what I mean? So the league suspended him for a game, and Juju Smith-Schuster too kind of seems like an easy target. You remember he had his whole TikTok era dancing at midfield against the Bengals, and then Von Bell lit his ass up. So yeah, man, trying to think if I missed anything. I'm sweating like a damn hoe in church. You know what I mean? I think we covered the majority of stuff. I kind of thought to myself, I was like, hey, what if we did our best to condense the show as much as possible so that every second you're getting a lot of value out of it? I'm not saying I'm a fluffy speaker, but I'm kind of saying there's sometimes there's fluff. So I'm trying to cut that out. Yeah, good weekend of football this past week. I'm trying to think what else. Maybe I just don't have it today. I don't know. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. And if I could take an inch, this like sport dimension, Theo Vaughn. Thank you. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sweating right now. I am sweating. You know, this is not a good choice. This is like for cold weather. When you head up north 2 hours from where I sit up to Flagstaff, Arizona, where it's 30 degrees cooler. This is like what you wear up there, but I'm in Phoenix. You know what I mean? I just kind of threw this on to do my work this morning. And now I'm sitting here sweating. And I think there's something to say about going live on a podcast. You know, we've done this a lot. We've done this for a long time. But, you know, when I go live, man, I definitely get a little action down in the pits. You know what I'm saying? Definitely a bit more activity under the arms than if I wasn't live on a podcast. You know what I mean? I'm so nervous. So, yeah, I think with the Tennessee Titans, dysfunctional-ass organization run by a woman, we can't let football be feminized any further than it's already been feminized. But the problem is that the culture of society trickles into our sports in America, and unfortunately, the culture of America has been feminized. Now, I think that's being reversed. I think you're seeing a little stagnation in the counterculture when Big Daddy got elected. You know, I think there was a big counter shift for what we had seen from 2020 to 2024, but I feel like there's still a lot of work to do. I think there's still a lot of how do I say it? I think there's still a lot of people out there that are sitting there saying, okay, how can we remove the testes of the young American men next? I think there's still a big part of America culturally that doesn't resonate with proper masculinity. And the problem as it pertains to football is it's a masculine sport. Can you imagine being called into the owner's office? Let's say you're a Tennessee Titans player, and you get called in the owner's office. Maybe you're a coach, somebody with extensive experience with the game of football. And Miss Amy, who's never played a snap in her life, is telling you about how you need to do things. This track record with the Titans of firing GMs, firing head coaches all at separate times, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Jacob's in the chat, great friend of the show, and I got to tell you, Jacob, look, the Bengals are going to win the next 3 games in a row, and the Bears are going to be on the other side of that, and I'm sorry to tell you, brother. You can come on here and crucify me if I'm wrong. But this Bengals offense started clicking in that second half, and they looked good. They looked good in that second half. The defense just couldn't come up with a big stop late. And the guy in Trey Hendrickson's spot, whoever the hell 96 is for the Bengals, on that 3rd and 9 with 2:31 left in the fourth quarter, needed that stop down 6 points to keep the Packers out of field goal range. 96 for the Bengals, filling in for Trey Hendrickson, looked like he thought he was at a roller rink. It was horrible. I have the footage on my phone. I should have maybe thrown it up there, but it was just, I should have thrown it up there, but I didn't. It was just disgusting. The guy on the right end, because Love rolled out to the left to this guy's side, and he was just nowhere to be found. Love was able to plant his feet, get the ball to Matthew Golden for the first down at field goal range, and that was the game. So for the Bengals, Again, a lot like my golf game. First half, defense looked great. Offense couldn't bust a grape. And then the second half, offense looked great. Defense couldn't get a stop, at least when they needed it. So I said this earlier in the show. Anybody new that popped in here, welcome. Thank you for being here. I said this earlier in the show, and now I can't remember what I was going to say. Kevin Patullo in Philadelphia. Is everyone talking about firing people 5 weeks ago? Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week on the show, and this is where the chat comes in real helpful because I feel like I kind of blew my load on everything that I've got to talk about. So this is where this is where the chat comes in handy. Kevin Patullo, we talked about this last week. I was in Indianapolis in the front office in 2019 when Nick Sirianni was our offensive coordinator with the Colts. I wonder sometimes, I wondered about this on the show last week, if Sirianni shouldn't take play calling duties back from Patullo. Now, I think Patullo is one of like Sirianni's, obviously he's one of Sirianni's guys. But, you know, we saw Brian Callahan give up play calling duties. He's now fired, so maybe that's not the precedent we want to be looking for. I know a lot of Bengals fans have been calling for Zach Taylor to give up play calling duties. And it seemed like in the second half of this Bengals game that what was getting called on the headset wasn't really what was going on out on the field, but it looked great. So that might be a negative look for Zach Taylor's play calling. Every Bengals fan in America is saying that Zach Taylor doesn't know his ass from the Lombardi Trophy when it comes to offensive scheming. And if you looked at the first half of the Bengals-Packers game, holy shit. But all that to say, I'm as hopeful as a Bengals fan as I've been since Joe went down after week 2. And I had a horrible take. I'm going to keep calling myself out for this because one day when this show blows up, somebody's going to go back to my Jake Browning clip after Joe got hurt and say, this guy doesn't know shit because he said Jake Browning was going to be the guy. So I'm going to keep calling myself out for that, kind of pull a Slim Shady 8 Mile rap battle deal. I am white. I am a fucking bum. I do live in a trailer with my mom. And say that was the worst take I've ever made. I was fake hopeful when I was making that take. I was coping. But now we have a guy, Joe Flacco, who actually produced for a half of football on, like 2-3 days notice? Without his best receiver even being in practice with an illness? I'm hopeful as a Cincinnati Bengals fan right now. If this defense could just bust a freaking grape. And it's clear, at least on film, and especially on the stat sheet, that this Bengals defense has improved since last year. If the Bengals had this defense last year, you're probably looking at a 12-5 team. You're probably looking at a 13-4 team. But that's not the situation we're in. So the Bengals sit at 2-4. They've lost 4 in a row. But I sit here hopeful that they will pick up the next 3 games in a row against the Steelers, the Bears, and the Jets. What else, chap? What else? Sirianni, as history has shown as a head coach, does not want anything to do with the play call. Interesting. Spencer, I don't know if you're an Eagles fan or not, but if you are, that's good insight. I've been trying to listen to the local radio broadcasts of each game, especially because on a Sunday, I don't know about you guys. I love football so much. Football is the biggest part of my life. It's taken me so many places, and obviously we talk about it every day on the show. But on a God damn, I keep swallowing spit or something down my windpipe. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but if it's a football Sunday in the fall, and I'm sitting on my couch for 8 hours rotting, watching ball the whole Sunday, it typically doesn't set me up the best I can be set up to be productive during the week. I don't feel good. I get anxious sitting on the couch. So, get out and do some stuff on a Sunday, but we obviously still got to follow everything that's going on. So one thing I like to do is turn on, and you could do this with NFL Plus, is turn on the radio broadcast for each game, and you can pick which side broadcast you want. So if it, like, let's say the Lions are playing the Jags at home, you could pick the home broadcast and get the local Detroit look at it, or you can listen to the Jags broadcast, the away broadcast, and get their side of it. That's just a hypothetical. I know those teams haven't played each other to my knowledge. So you get a little local taste. It's like culture, but also I like being out on the go. I like being able to get out and do stuff while still digesting the football happenings. And also, I feel like when you listen to a game, it kind of helps you visualize it for yourself in a way that it kind of ignites inner creativity that maybe you don't get access to when you're actually watching it unfold, especially with the commentary of the national broadcast. It's just a little different, So that's been fun, getting to know teams and cities in a different way, listening to their local radio broadcasts during these games. You get a lot more juice than you do on the national broadcast. Let me think. Is there anything else, man? I really, the sweat has dialed back in the last 5 minutes here, but I'm semi-comfortable. Let's just say that. Yeah, man, that's all I've really got for today. If you guys are in here for the first time, welcome to the show. You can actually go to my channel and watch the replay of this episode and every episode as we update that podcast playlist weekly. You can go to the podcast tab, click on In the Jar, and get every single episode on demand. It works best vertically on your phone because we like the discoverability of the shorts feed on YouTube. So maybe one day when the channel gets to a certain size, we'll be able to be like a normal podcast and have the horizontal landscape for each episode. But for right now, it's vertical, and you guys are just going to have to enjoy it that way. It's also on every Spotify platform, every audio platform you can imagine. That's updated daily. So if you're in the car, taking your girlfriend somewhere, and you want to brief her on football and what it's like to be gritty and a team guy, you can make your girlfriend listen to this podcast on audio platforms in the car. Other than that, probably jump on I've got like 30 minutes. Maybe we'll jump on a Madden stream right now, play a game. And then I'm going to head to jiu-jitsu here in about 40 minutes. So if you're in here for the first time, welcome. If you're a regular listener, fan of the show, like I know some guys in the chat are, appreciate your support. I love you guys with all of my heart. If I could take an inch and turn it into a yard, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us out a lot. This is something we plan on doing for a living for a long time. It's my favorite thing to do every day, is jump on here with you guys. So the dedication on my end is there, and I need buy-in from the new folks jumping into this show. And we really appreciate that. Okay, let's get offline here. I love you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow around 6:30-ish Eastern. Hopefully we did a good job. I felt a little off today, I'm not going to lie. Just kind of checking things off the box, so appreciate you guys bearing with me. Hopefully it was still a good show, and I love you. We'll holler at you on Madden here shortly.